All right, so I'm in San Francisco this week. We just got through, what do you guys call this, Casey? It's a learning lab. And what's the purpose of the learning lab?
It's part of the coursework for the Human Factors and Safety Systems program at Lund University.
Very cool. And so you had like a bunch of students here, but then also people from the field and people like
experts out there like yourself coming in, to assist the education material. It was mostly students, a few industry experts, and some random invitees.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you guys wrote a book a little while back called Chaos Engineering.
Yep.
And you may not have even known how much I've shared that book with people, because I love the thinking behind it. I think it's really going to help with human and organizational performance, right? And something you and I were chatting about today, which I just thought was cool. Could you share just a couple of thoughts around this idea of is it reversibility? Is that what you call it?
Reversibility, yeah. So there's this mental model that's really useful, particularly in dealing with complex systems. It's called the economic pillars of complexity. So the 4 pillars in this model are states, relationships, the environment, and reversibility. And the quintessential example used to explain the model is Ford in the mid-1920s. You can have any kind of car that you want as long as it's a black Model T. And even the parts were standardized. So Ford was able to control the states, and that helped them navigate complexity better. They also controlled the relationships by implementing their version of scientific management, their version of Taylorism. So other car companies would have teams that built entire cars. A lot of relationships, a lot of interdependencies in there. At Ford, they had assembly line manufacturing, so you can talk to the person on your right, not the person on your left. The number of relationships between the people and the parts were limited. The environment, they were eventually able to control when they had monopolistic powers, and they couldn't really touch reversibility. It's hard to undo the manufacturing of a car.
Because tooling's been purchased and designs have been done and money has been spent and right.
What are you going to do? Melt it down?
Right.
It's difficult to separate the materials. Of course, you can put a car in reverse, but that's
a different kind of reversibility, right?
Reverse. Yeah.
Except my old pickup truck, the reverse didn't work, but other than that, that has a lot to do with abuse. Yeah, that's right.
So the interesting thing in my field in software is that it's almost the exact opposite. You can't really control the number of states because there's a business imperative to increase functionality, increase data, so that the number of states tends to grow unbounded. You can't do a lot about the number of relationships because in software there's so many different layers, and because of dependencies on other layers that are constantly being developed, the number of relationships between things is growing at least geometrically, if not exponentially. You can't really control the environment unless you're a monopoly, like Amazon or a company like that, which leaves reversibility, and this is where software shines. So, beginning with the change in process from waterfall to XP and agile development in software. Waterfall being you have a planning stage and then a testing stage, and so from the time that you start describing a project to delivering it, it takes about a year. You put that in front of the customer, they say that's not what I wanted. Well, tough. You can't.
That's what you got, right?
Yeah. XP and Agile about 20 years ago introduced a different way of building software where you only have 1 week or 2 week iterations. So you put something in front of the customer. After 2 weeks, they say that's not what I wanted. Okay, back to the drawing board. 2 weeks later, oh well, that's closer. Okay, by the 3rd week, you're probably tracking close to what the customer actually wants, and that's doable because the shorter period of time has allowed you to change your decision.
So it's not a massive big swing all at once. It's a lot of little sort of micro changes. Yeah, so kind of like small changes, right? It's the Kaizen approach to reverse. Yep.
And so that's on the process side, which is fine. But in the past 20 years, software has gotten a lot more complex. So what's really fascinating is that architecturally, you can make decisions now that allow you to reverse decisions. So there's many examples of this. I'll take one called feature flagging, which basically says you can put code into production and it'll have like a pin or a variable that doesn't allow people to see the new feature unless you turn it from false to true. So you can say, okay, we're ready, okay, true, enter, people can see it, and if that's a whoopsie, you just change that back to false again, and the feature goes.
So it's a small change. If there's a problem, you reverse it, pull it back out.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's called feature flagging. There's a bunch of other canaries. Canary deploys to production will send some of the traffic to the new code, and if the error rate doesn't change, then maybe it'll send more. So it's like a canary in the coal mine.
Oh, gotcha.
So what's fascinating is you can make architectural decisions at junction points that lead to more reversible code. And that will pay dividends in the long run in allowing you to navigate complexity in the software world. So, again, it's not process. Those are examples aren't process or procedure. Those are engineers doing what engineers do best. But with additional guidance, that will pay off in the future.
Excuse me. So what I love about this is I think, because we were learning a lot from you guys, and your book on chaos engineering has been so cool to read, and you guys are writing a second one, right? So looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And I think that this notion of what we call tri-storming and micro-experimentation, it feeds right into this idea of let's do little changes that we can reverse easily before we make these big, instead of making these big, huge swings that may be a disaster, but then we're locked into it because we spent $1 million on it. So I appreciate you taking time to explain how this works in the software world. We're totally going to be able to apply this in our manufacturing world where we're building in some change, but do it in small little steps so that we can back it back out if it doesn't work well. It's the notion of tri-storming with the reversibility kind of built into it. So cool. Well, good. I always look forward to like chatting with folks that know cool stuff. So thank you for taking the time to capture this. We'll share this out there, and I no doubt it will help as we're on this journey of increasing our sort of resilience and reliability across organizations. So thanks a lot. And we'll post your book when it's ready, right? So I'm looking forward to that. All right, thanks.
Thanks a lot, Bob.